A terrible tragedy has just unfolded in Israel as massive fires engulf residential neighborhoods, causing widespread destruction and panic. Homes are burning, families are fleeing, and emergency services are battling to contain the rapidly spreading flames. The nation is in shock as the scale of the disaster becomes clear. Terrible tragedy in Israel. Residential areas engulfed in flames. A devastating tragedy has struck Israel as massive fires have engulfed several residential areas, leaving behind a trail of destruction, panic, and heartbreak. Entire neighborhoods have been swallowed by flames, displacing families, destroying homes, and claiming lives. Emergency services are stretched thin as they battle to contain the infernos that have erupted in multiple locations. The nation watches in horror as the scale of the disaster unfolds. Outbreak and spread of the fires. The fires began suddenly and spread with terrifying speed, fanned by dry weather and strong winds. Initial reports suggest the blazes erupted near forested regions on the outskirts of several towns and quickly spread into urban and residential zones. In some areas, residents had mere minutes to evacuate. Dry brush, record-high temperatures, and ongoing drought conditions contributed to the fire's rapid spread, creating what officials are calling one of the worst fire events in the country's history. Major affected regions. The fires have primarily affected the central and northern parts of Israel, including the outskirts of Jerusalem and Haifa. In some areas, entire neighborhoods have been leveled. Firefighters and rescue teams are working around the clock, but access is severely limited due to thick smoke, falling debris, and collapsed infrastructure. Roads have been blocked, electricity lines cut off, and water supply systems damaged, complicating firefighting efforts. Human toll, casualties, and displacement. Tragically, the human toll is mounting. Dozens of people have been injured, some critically, from burns, smoke inhalation, or during desperate attempts to escape the advancing flames. At least several fatalities have been reported, with numbers expected to rise as rescue teams search through the rubble. Tens of thousands have been evacuated from their homes and are now seeking shelter in community centers, schools, and temporary housing provided by government and aid organizations. Response from emergency services, Israel's emergency services, including the Fire and Rescue Authority, IDF Home Front Command, and medical teams from Magen David Adom, have been deployed in full force. Firefighting planes have been dispatched, and reinforcements from neighboring countries are being requested. Volunteers, NGOs, and local communities have stepped up to provide food, shelter, and emotional support to those affected. However, the scale of the disaster is challenging even for the most experienced emergency responders. Possible causes and investigations. While the exact cause of the fires is still under investigation, authorities are exploring both natural and human-related factors. Some initial reports suggest the possibility of arson, while others indicate that the fires may have started due to accidental negligence or natural ignition points. Security services have not ruled out politically motivated actions, and surveillance footage is being reviewed. The investigation remains ongoing, and the government has pledged transparency and accountability. Public reactions and government response. Prime Minister and top officials have expressed deep sorrow and vowed full support for the victims. In a national address, the Prime Minister called the fires a national emergency and urged citizens to stay calm, follow evacuation orders, and help one another. Parliament has been called into emergency session to allocate additional funds for disaster relief. The Israeli public has responded with characteristic resilience, donating supplies, offering shelter, and coordinating relief efforts on social media. International condolences and support world leaders have begun expressing solidarity with Israel. Messages of support have poured in from the United States, United Kingdom, India, and the European Union. Some countries have offered to send firefighting aircraft, rescue teams, and humanitarian aid. International Jewish and diaspora communities have also launched fundraising campaigns to assist with recovery efforts. Environmental and infrastructural damage. Beyond the human impact, the fires have caused catastrophic environmental damage. Thousands of acres of forests, agricultural land, and wildlife habitats have been destroyed. The thick smoke has led to dangerously poor air quality across major cities, raising health concerns. Experts warn that the recovery of the natural landscape could take years. Additionally, transportation networks, public utilities, and critical infrastructure like schools and hospitals have sustained heavy damage. The road ahead: rebuilding and recovery. As the fires continue to rage in some areas, attention is already turning to the long and difficult road ahead. Rebuilding homes, infrastructure, and trust will take time and significant resources. Mental health professionals are preparing for a wave of trauma-related issues among survivors. The government has pledged immediate financial assistance and long-term support, including housing aid and psychological counseling. Conclusion: united in grief, strong in spirit. The fires in Israel have unleashed untold devastation, but amidst the smoke and sorrow, stories of courage and compassion are emerging. Firefighters risking their lives, neighbors rescuing each other, and communities rallying to support victims reflect the enduring strength of the Israeli spirit. As the flames are gradually brought under control, the country faces the enormous task of healing, but it will do so united, resilient, and determined not to be broken by this tragedy.